Hello Geeks and Gamers, Matt Lemke here with New Gamer Goggles, and today we are going to do some more of the Matt Speaks RPG. There's probably a couple weeks left of this. Today's is going to be a little bit different, and I think we're going to, I'm basing it off some of the things that I've learned as a writer, and generally today's lesson, or spiel, is where I would normally start with a character as an author. And but before we get too far, I got an announcement to make. My Kickstarter is going to go live right around the beginning of March. I decided to wait based off of Kickstarter's numbers that February is not the month to be launching a Kickstarter in. So, with that said, please support me, watch this, share this, and also watch on the channel maybe today or tomorrow, maybe before this video even. I'm doing some giveaway videos. I've got some extra product, and I'm going to do some subscription competition type things, and you guys are going to win it, I hope. So today is the book that I reference a lot and has been very influential to me is by Jeff Gerke, and it's Plot versus Character. It's really what introduced me to this whole thing as an author. And as a role player, it really motivated me to start doing more things like this to my character, primarily because I want to practice it, which is how I ended up creating characters that are kind of complex when I role play. Now, Jeff writes this whole book pretty much on character in versus plot. So we're actually going to take the concept of character versus role. So by doing that, we're going to look at what is more important, and that really is an individual decision and a group decision. The role of a fighter is very different than the role of a wizard, but within either of those is the role of character more important than either of the roles. And that, again, that's an individual decision, and I hope that I'm intelligent enough and capable to share that with you. Now, we're going to talk about some stuff that's a little bit deep, and I don't know, in 15 minutes if we're going to be able to cover it all, to be honest. We're going to talk about the Myers-Briggs model of personality, which is pretty scientific. And it's been around a while. I don't know the exact dates. But Jeff introduced it to me in his book. And he actually recommends to read Please Understand Me 2 by David Kiersey, or Kersey. And I'll put that information in the description. But basically, the Myers-Briggs model assigns personality types based off, I'm going to call them keywords, that basically develop your personality. For example, well, there's 8, or is it 8? Yeah, let me double check. Core personality. There's 8 core words that assign you letters, and they're always opposing. So you have extrovert or introvert, sensing or intuition, thinking or feeling, judgment or perception. And then you combine those by picking one of each of the 2 opposing forces, and you create a personality. For example, we'll run through it real quick, and I'll try and be quick. Introvert, intuition, feeling, perception, sees the world as full of wonder, as through rose-colored glasses, must have work that has a meaningful purpose and is idealistic. Now, you just got like 16 words, but that's enough to define personality, or start to define the personality of a character in a role-playing game. And it's enough to give you the idea of a personality. Now, if you read Myers-Briggs' book, or it's more like a paper. It's scientific, and it's a lot heavier and more than you need to do unless you're interested in this kind of thing. But it's like 300 pages on these 16 models. And David Kersey's book expands all of Myers-Briggs models and goes beyond and adds career information, how they would react and respond within their career, how they would react and respond in romance and in work, hobbies, social settings. So you really do, I mean, these people have put a lot of time into it. So now we go ENFJ, which is extrovert, intuition, feeling, and judgment. Organized and decisive, works to build harmony in personal relationships, empathetic, sees potential in everyone. ISFJ, introvert, sensing, feeling, judgment. Serious observer of other people, overwhelming desire to serve others, often taken advantage of and responsible. Sounds like a cleric or a paladin to me. ESTP, extrovert, sensing, thinking, judgment. Tolerant and flexible, actions, not words. The doer, not the thinker. Spontaneous, impulsive, competitive. One might argue that could be James Bond. Yeah, I might be able to argue that. INFJ, introvert, intuition, feeling, judgment. True activist for a worthy cause, good insights into other people, remembers specifics about people who are important to him or her. Could be a druid. ESTJ, extrovert, sensing, thinking, judgment. Person self-appointed to keep everyone in line, prefers facts to opinions, stays with the tried and true practical. ENFP, which is extrovert, intuition, feeling, perceptive, or perception. Idea person, warm and enthusiastic, enjoys work that involves a variety and experimentation. So, and then you have the ISTJ, quietly, thorough, and dependable, always seeking clearly to understand things, punctual to a fault, can seem cold. Now, we're about halfway into the time, so I'm going to probably stop there, and we're going to start moving on. But you can see how these 16 words, or these little ideas, are a good starting point. And that's all I wanted really to bring it out of. You don't need to go and get Myers-Briggs or anything that heavy duty. That's a little bit overkill. I stumbled across it doing research on becoming a better author, and I just thought I would kind of share it with you. But generally, I don't know if I mentioned this, I can't remember now, this is where I would start when I would start creating a character for a story or a piece of fiction. But role-playing is a little bit different. You tend to start with the class you want to play, unless you're like me, and then you roll the stats first. Now, from here, you start moving out of the personality and layering things. So, in the sense that I was writing a story, I'd start with one of the core temperaments, and then I would move to the class for role-playing, the alignment, and the race. Not necessarily in that order, but that concept. And now if you take, man, I wish I had it down here. Oh well. If you take an onion and you cut it in half, and you look at it, you can see all the different lines of an onion, and each layer of an onion is a leaf. But when you peel it back, it reveals something new about an individual, if the individual is the onion. And that is kind of what you're doing with your character. You're creating different layers, and with each layer you add more meaning to who it is and more personality. Now next week we're going to move into probably background and history, so you might want to start thinking about some other things there. Another approach that you can take, which by the way, if you want to do the Myers-Briggs stuff, you can actually go online and do a search for Myers-Briggs and just do a personality test, and bypass knowing any of this. You just go, okay, I want my character to be able to do this. I think the last time I took the test, it took me about 20 minutes. And you want, if you go through there, and they'll ask you a series of questions, and you can be like, okay, I think my character's going to do this, and you'll get the personality profile for what you want your character to be able to do. that is probably the fastest way rather than buying the books and stuff like that. I just wanted to share it, for one, in case you want to write, or in two, in case you're really into it, and who knows, maybe you're a psych major and you've never heard of it yet, and you want to research it or do some research on it. Another method is kind of a method that Mike Stackpole uses for developing characters in his stories. And what you do is you start by saying, Kellen Colt here is my character, and you write 5 sentences about Kellen Colt. And those 5 sentences could really be pretty broad. They could be areas of interest. It could be Kellen Colt is an avid martial artist. She's only lost blah blah blah. It could be Kellen Colt likes chocolate, and then what you do the next time you come back and you work on it, you take each of those sentences and turn them into a full paragraph. So you turn one sentence into about 7. And that's kind of your personality background, or the things that you found out or that you want to be important to this individual. And then the next phase is you take 5 sentences that are in opposition to those first 5. Not necessarily direct opposition, like, if you chose chocolate, it wouldn't necessarily be heat, but it could be. Or it wouldn't necessarily be white chocolate that you hate. It could be a different type of food. Because you've already established that at least one kind of food is important to Kellen Colt. And then the following day you do the same thing. You expand all those out to 5 to 7 sentences so that you have a total of 10 paragraphs on your character. And that's a real good starting point for any character. You have 5 interests, and that's more than you need to role play. I mean, it's not, you can add more as you go on, which you do anyway. You might get out there and you might not have any craft skills at first level, and then you decide, hey, my character wants to learn how to make wine because they like chocolate. Chocolate and wine might go together in this fantasy world, or you might be an individual that just likes chocolate and wine. And with that said, this is really kind of the beginning, and next week we're going to start moving into things like your background, and we're gonna talk about the big 3. And I'll let you think about what the big 3 is. Basically, you would want to come up with 3 events or ideas that help shape who your character is at this point in time. And we'll talk about that. The big 3, in my opinion, is one of the most important parts of character development. Not only in writing, but in role-playing, because it helps you put a thinking cap on of the individual. And the more details you have of the big 3 and the 5 personality traits or the Myers and Briggs traits that you can put down on paper, the bigger the hat is that you wear to get inside their head and become this individual. And this is really where it gets juicy and we start to learn about creating our character. Everything else up to this point was pretty basic that every role player does. Now we're moving into the things that not everyone does because, well, they either aren't interested in it, and if you're not interested in it, that's fine. Again, that's your choice. You want to play the role. I think once you play your character, your role will be very different because you won't look at it the same way. The role of a fighter will always be the role of a fighter. But when you play a fighter, it will be different. You will not be bored. You will not be waiting around for combat because you will always have things you can do. And that is the point of developing character in role-playing. So, thanks for watching. This has been Matt Lemke with Through Gamer Goggles on Matt Speaks RPG, which is probably going to change if I keep the show going. So, let me know. Share, like, tell your friends about it. I hope that this is going to be a part of my Kickstarter. I'm going to use it, and if people like it. I've had nothing but good feedback on it, so I thank you all. Have a good day, and I'll see you next week.